All right, welcome everybody out to our essential oil spotlight for this evening. And the topic is Console Essential Oil Blend. And our presenter is Jade Baldwin, that magnificent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to our call. Welcome to our listeners on our podcast. So today we're going to talk about Console. We have a few people joining us tonight. I just wanted to ask you guys first, what are your experiences with Console so far?
I like to use Console on my wrist before I go to bed. That's actually one of my favorite picks to help me sleep.
Oh, wow. That's great. Thank you, Dana. Anything else?
No, that's like my big one that I use, although I've used it for other things, but that's like my big one that I'm using it currently for.
Okay, nice. How about you, Linda?
I have the roll-on, and I had loaned it out to someone, and they seem to enjoy it. But I want to get the actual oil so I can put it in the diffuser.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, because it's kind of hard to pop the roller top off.
Yeah.
Carefully into your diffuser. Try to just get one drop. That's going to be hard. Yeah, that's right. Awesome. So I used the Console a few times. It wasn't one of my favorites. At first I smelt it and I thought, it's okay. And then sometimes I smell it and I'm like, ew. So I had a problem with it. How to fix that. Anyways, one particular time my friend lost her father and immediately I thought of Console. So I bought her a necklace diffuser. And I came over to her place and gave her the diffuser and then put Console in there. And then she was really stressed because she was trying to be strong. It just seems like she's trying to be strong and just kind of moving along and not falling apart in front of people. So I gave it to her, had her smell it, and then I massaged her hand with it. And so she was just yapping and talking about her day and all her stresses and all what's happening. And I was just nodding and listening and massaging her hands. And then by the time I was done, you could see, she paused and then she took another deep breath in. And then she's like, well, what was I going on about? And she kind of just refocused and she smiled and, it felt great. But that was just the beginning. A week later, when I spoke to her, she said that Console really helped her just keep herself together. And she said she grieved, but she didn't feel like she fell apart and was a big mess. So she really appreciated the power of what the Console oil could do for her. So that was really awesome.
I've heard of other people using it for any other kind of loss, whether it's loss of a pet or breaking up with a boyfriend or those sorts of things, or just, a relationship gone sour or something like that, or like a child moving out of home.
Yep, that's another grief. Yep. Yeah. So empty nesting grief is a real grief too. So anyways, those are some of the stories, and I'll share with you a little bit more. But Console, of course, helps with grief and sadness, emotional release and reassurance, brain support, it's spiritual connection and meditation, libido balancing, lung and respiratory support, and emotional pain and heart consoling. This is really important, all of these things here, because, we every time we have some sort of emotional issue, it always affects our physical body. So look at the oils that are in it. We have frankincense, patchouli, ylang-ylang, sandalwood, rose, labanum, I don't know much about, osmanthus, and amorous. And I looked that up, and it had a lot of I think, evidence where it helps people with anxious feelings. So that was awesome. So you already know frankincense helps with the brain, with cells, with calming, with people being more conscious and aware. Okay, and patchouli is great for the body. With tension in the body, ylang is great for the heart. Okay, sandalwood is helping you connect back to divinity, more of a spiritual vision. Rose is great for the heart as well, but it also helps with divinity. Has the highest vibration of all the oils, and you know, when you're down, you have low vibration. Okay, and these other oils I don't know too much about, so I'm not going to go into it too much. Things I've read, but I haven't experienced. So, and I'm sure it's awesome when doTERRA comes out with these oils, and we can have them individually. But I'm appreciative of them putting this blend together, because really, it's not a lot of things out there that can help us with our emotions. You know, if you have physical pains, yes, we've got stuff for that, but what about the emotional pain?
That's true. You can't go down to the pharmacy and say, can I have something to help me deal with grief?
Yeah. My heart aches. Fix it.
My girlfriend dumped me. Help me.
Yeah. So my lovely brother-in-law, he's so cute, and he's so into the oils now. But when he was sharing with me when he was younger and he got dumped for the first time, he's like, I felt like my heart was going to break, like physically, and I didn't know who to turn to. And I thought, wow, you know, if you had the essential oils back then. He's like, yeah. And he really wants to help men now, young men, because he feels like, hey, you know, we want to support those guys, and they, you know, when they feel lost and hopeless, who do they turn to? So that's awesome that you think of ways to help. So anyways, so grief and sadness from losing something or someone you love can be deeply disorienting and painful. Your whole body and your environment is affected. So we forget that it's not just our body, it's beyond our body too. And the unsettled state of mind spins with worries, fears, questions, and confusion. So can you see how frankincense and sandalwood kind of helps clarify the mind? Yeah, see how it works? And then during this turmoil, with this doTERRA blend, we can take the edge off this emotional pain, bind up the broken heart. But, you know, it allows them to go through the process at the same time. Okay. So most of you have seen this wheel before. Some people that are new may not have. So this is doTERRA's emotional aromatherapy wheel, and they have kind of categorized the different oils into mints and citrus, spices, herbs, grasses, florals, trees, and then they can kind of put them together in a nice blend. So you can see that console lies between florals and trees, you see, and then we have the chia oil that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago between the citrus and the spices. So it's just a wonderful, you know, a way you can combine these oils. And of course, they do a lot of testing and science behind this to get it just right. You know, it just helps us with our emotions. So it's interesting how, you know, the mint oils help with certain emotions, and the citrus oils, everything kind of ties together and it makes sense. So it's beautiful how nature works that way. So do you guys have the whole set of the emotional aromatherapy oils? Yeah?
I don't think I have. I have just about all of them.
Yeah? You collected them one at a time.
I was pretty much, I didn't get the set.
Yeah.
And just as I went along, because I was more into all the rest of the stuff outside the emotions, and then all of a sudden I went, oh, I need to get all the emotions stuff. But I was kind of getting them as needed, and most of the time it was for other people, just to let them try, you know what I mean? Yeah. Let them smell, or when I did a class or whatever, you know.
Awesome. Yep. So if you guys don't have them yet, start collecting them, or like me, just go for the whole kit.
Yeah.
You think, what if I need them all?
Right, right.
So that's beautiful. I love the oils, and it's just different seasons of your life, and you resonate with different ones. So that's good to have on hand. And the oils don't expire quickly. They have a very, very, very long shelf life. So you may just leave it on your shelf and use it as needed. And sometimes use it daily, like Dane actually uses it to help her sleep at night. And it makes sense, you know, they're all calming oils. Yep. Okay, so Console comes in a roller bottle, and it's called part of the Touch series. Hello, Paula. It's part of the Touch series of doTERRA oils. So it's beautifully diluted with a fractionated coconut oil, and it's got that roller ball top, so you can roll it onto your skin or wherever you need it, so that you know, you can get more, and it's a little bit less expensive than getting it concentrated. So, and I find that it's just as effective. So with all the Touch ones, I tell my kids that they can freely use it because it's mostly for them, and they don't have to think, oh, which one do I dilute? Because it's all diluted already. Okay, so here you are, you can see the picture. I'm sorry to people who are on our podcast who can't see the picture, but it's just a box with all of the emotional aromatherapy oils. Okay, it's very colorful. Yep, so if you don't want to pay the full price for the concentrated, you can get the Touch first and then experience the oils just the same. Okay. But like Linda said, if you do have the 5 ml bottles, you can open it up and put a drop into your diffuser, and it makes it much easier. So, anywho, we will go on to the body. Okay. All right, so we have a few things here. It's for brain support. You know that frankincense and sandalwood is very good for the brain. So in this blend, it will still do the same thing. So 1 to 2 drops, you know, of this Console on the forehead, on the back of the neck, on the ears, and on the big toes. Big toes is the reflex points for the brain. Okay, so do that, and do it as much or as often as needed. Okay, so that's easy peasy. So brain support, when I say that, it means it helps with memory, it helps with even trauma. Okay, even repair. So it does quite a bit. But if you take the time to look up the frankincense and look up the sandalwood and the rose oil, you can see all the things, all the research that has been done on these oils for the brain, and you'll see how it really helps. So keep in mind pets and you know, children as well. So you know, sometimes you know, we forget that you know, even though it doesn't look like kids, they're aware of what's happening around them. Sometimes they're feeling our emotions, and they need to be comforted too. Alrighty. Okay, so low libido. Later on, you'll see that some of the emotions that helps that Console helps with is it's just a lack of joy and lack of happiness, always feeling unsettled and restless. So you can imagine that you know, there's these floral oils in here. It helps you have more joy and more pleasure and just relaxing. Okay, so that's really good for that. And then for lungs, so can you imagine when people are grieving? I've had you know, like when a long time ago when I had more anxiety, I remember just like, you know, being almost like choking, like you can't breathe. And if you're in a state where you're crying, you know, your respiratory system really needs that support. So you can diffuse or apply 1 to 2 drops of the Console on your chest, and then just inhale deeply until you get it up your nose into your lungs, and then also into the brain, so the brain can calm down, relax, and not have these panic attacks. Yeah. When kids have like tantrums, babies and little toddlers and maybe adults, and they have tantrums, and this is one of the things that you can do. Sometimes lavender just doesn't cut it, and you might need to go for a blend. Okay, so when we mention things like lungs and respiratory support, really make a connection to the emotions, so that you can see that, hey, because of this anger and this frustration, you're having difficulty breathing. Okay, so, and emotionally, lungs and issues like asthma is about grief. So sometimes people that come to me and they say, what oil's for asthma? And I'm like, oh, well, that's your lungs. Yes, that's your respiratory system, right? So we have some oils to help with the respiratory system, but I also invite them to, smell maybe console or peace for their lungs, because, it stores feelings of grief. That makes sense? So if you can get rid of the root issue, which is the emotions and the thinking patterns, then the physical issue doesn't really come up and bother you so much. So I grew up having lots of asthma attacks and having to live, with Ventolin and puffers and things, and almost 10 years now, I've not needed it since I started doTERRA. So we're coming on to 8 years actually, yeah. But I started on this natural health journey about 2 years prior to doTERRA, and it's just been liberating. Yeah, not to worry about whether you're going to stop breathing. Yeah. Okay, so eliminating waste. And this is so funny, but sometimes people come and say, hey, I can't go, or I have problems peeing. And it's been several days and I haven't gone, or my son doesn't go, or whatever. And they think that I'm going to tell them all about what to eat, or what oils to take to go. But I also add the oils to help them with feeling of release, feeling of relaxation, because when you're relaxed and you're not so stressed, you are not robbing the rest of your body of energy. So can you imagine with me, if you are very stressed and very worried, very tense in your head, how you breathe? You can have these shallow breaths all the time. And then you can imagine that the rest of the body doesn't have all of that energy, so that things don't flow, okay? And it's not just not being able to go to the bathroom. It's going to be a place for things to fester, okay? And one of the biggest culprit is our Candida albicans fungus. And basically what you need to know about the Candida fungus is it helps your body decay when you're dead. So if your gut is filled with food that's rotting, that's not leaving your body, you can see that it's breaking down more than just the food. Okay, it's going to be trapped throughout your body, and then it's going to cause a lot of havoc. Okay, and so those symptoms are just symptoms. They're not the real issue. So we just need to help our body eliminate. Sometimes people do the 30-day cleanse and restore, and they're really excited. They think they're just going to poop so many times a day, everything's going to be great, and then they email me and say, hey, nothing's happening, I'm not going. And I introduce a few oils to help them relax, and just relaxing their muscles and just de-stressing. All right, so that's really important, and it's an important skill for life. Okay, we don't have to have the stress. Sometimes people think that they need to have the stress to be productive, and research proves the opposite. Okay, so any questions or comments on that so far? Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
So we can do it in the reverse too. If you think, I'm not stressed, but then you're not going as often as you should, maybe you are stressed, but you don't recognize it. Okay, so that's that. All right, so heart support. So we have rose oil and we have ylang-ylang oil in there. So you can see that those two oils alone, but also osmanthus, okay, is great for the heart. Okay, and I'm not quite sure about labanum yet, but when I do find out, I'll let you know. But so far, at least these 3 oils are great for your heart, okay? And, you know, that it just helps your heart balance, the rhythm, the speed, and everything to do with the heart. So whatever health issues you have that's linked to the heart, Console might be the oil for you. So my family has a history of high blood pressure or low blood pressure. And, you know, it's funny because the typical oils don't work for me. Yeah, I have to go for some of these interesting oils that are not named very often, but it does the job for me. So just try different oils, this and that. So maybe your Console might be the one to help you with balancing your heart or your blood pressure. Okay? Yeah? Anyone want to comment or ask questions or anything?
You know, Jade, I do think that one is good for blood pressure. I have low blood pressure a lot of times, so I tend to gravitate towards that one, and the ylang ylang and the jasmine. Like, I could take a bath in those quite often.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. See, for me, ylang ylang alone just doesn't do it. And then petitgrain, they say helps with that too. And all these other people say, yeah, it worked great for me, but I don't know, it just wasn't the one for me. So, you know, I can see how it's amazing, you know, the science behind it. They discover all of these things that it can do, but the emotions, you know, still, it just kind of, it wins at the end of the day. So I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, that's not the emotion I need to heal from. That's probably why this oil's not working for me. So, so interesting. I'm glad you pointed that out too. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So how long has it been one of your favorites?
I loved Console from the first day I smelled it.
From the first time it came out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I bought the kit right off. I didn't wait.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Alrighty. So let's move on to the mind. Okay. Console is the oil of consolation. That's obvious. In our emotion book, it's the comforting blend. Okay, so they call it different names, but it's the same oil. So according to the emotions in the essential oil book, the negative emotions it shifts out are grieving, loss, traumatized, anxious, restless, unsettled, emotional pain, and burdened. That's really interesting, isn't it? And like Ben said, grieving, it can be, of course, obviously grieving of somebody who's passed away, or, you know, you've lost something, or you've pets, or there's a big change in your life and you just need some readjustment. Yeah. So the positive emotion it helps you adopt are comforted, content, restful, whole, serene, and healing. Okay, that's interesting, healing, because sometimes some people don't believe that they can heal. Okay, so for grief and sadness, just diffuse it in a diffuser or on a necklace diffuser. So it'll be up to you. If you love the smell, you can put more on, and sometimes the smell is really strong. For some people, they have a really strong sense of smell. You can use less. All right. So just during the times of loss, it helps you with comfort, so comforting your soul and evoking feelings of hope again. Okay. Shortens that grief, I think. because the grief, when it's extended, is because our minds and our brain, we're still trying to resolve it and make sense of it all. So anyways, that's that. Any questions or comments so far?
So I was going to say, so with all these different things, when you consider the mind and the emotions and everything else, so you know how when you're going through stuff, you might feel drained. You know, just your body just feels drained.
Yes.
With all the different things that it helps in each of these different categories, that should kind of help you not to feel drained.
Yeah. And then sometimes you do go through a catharsis. You do feel like you're dumping everything out, and you do get tired. After a good cry, you do feel tired and drained too. But it's because your body has gone through a big change. And then the next day you wake up and you think, oh, the sun is shining and everything is happy. So, yeah, but we just have to go through the refining process. And that's really important to do. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a minute too. So emotional release and reassurance. So apply this over your heart and heart reflex points. So of course, not only is it going to help you with your heart, palpitations and heart blood pressure and all, but it's going to help you be patient and heal and think positive thoughts, seeing the world in a more bright way. So if you are grieving, sometimes you look around and you list in your minds, and you can see all the evidence of how the world is not, working out. So this oil kind of helps console you and say, hey, look, this is still good, and that's still good, and this is okay. Okay, and you can apply 1 or 2 drops on your shirt collar or your scarf or something, if you don't have a necklace diffuser, to ward off feeling grief and sad. So you might think, oh, okay, I used it in the morning, but I just keep it on, because sometimes if you have a tendency to fall back into the negativity, the sadness again, because I think sometimes we're addicted to feeling dramatic and sad. Because that's how the world is. Sometimes I read a book and it says you can work 5 times harder to push against gravity, and the gravity is just the natural tendency to go down and be sad and depressed. So this really helps if you can just remember to keep it close by and smell it often. And whether the smell goes away or not, the energy is still there. So the vibration is still there to help uplift you. We've had some sneaky people put it on the clothing or the undergarments, or just inside the laundry for their loved ones who refuse to use the oils. So you can do it that way. One mom, she puts it in the laundry of her teenagers because they just don't want to use the oils when she tells them to. So she sneaks it in that way, just to help them be more positive and happy all the time. Yep. All right. Anyone want to speak or? All right. So fear and emotional pain relief. Sometimes when we're so fearful, we hold on to the pain and we don't want to resolve it, because we're thinking, if I open this Pandora's box, mayhem, right? And I don't want to deal with this. We have people that say, hey, sorry that I remembered that again. I don't want to remember that. I'm just going to box it up and tuck it away. And I don't want to relive this anymore. I'm just going to tuck it away. That's not a good solution. We really need to open that box and resolve it once and for all. Otherwise, that negative emotional ball is still inside of you, and it will cause havoc. It will catch up to you, and it won't be pretty if you keep it in too long. So it's better to do it now than later. So I would add Console and Melissa together, mix it together and put it in your necklace diffuser or in your diffuser and smell it. Okay, Melissa has a way of just opening you up and helping you see more light. I had a friend that she just felt like, I just need to buck up and be strong. And she didn't realize that she was grieving. Her kids have all left home, and she just kept on, going. She's like, look, I've got God, I've got the church, I'm good, everything is happy. So when I came back to Australia, she's like, I'll come and visit you, Jade. And she walked in, and I just felt something right away. And even though she had a smiley face on, I felt like, something's happening. So I sat down, I said, hang on a sec, let me get you something. So I brought out the Melissa oil. Back then the Console didn't exist. So I brought out the Melissa oil, and I said, smell this. And then as soon as she smelt it, she broke down and cried. And she shared with me all of her, just whatever was on her mind. And so she didn't know. And I said, it sounds like you're grieving. And she's like, oh, really? And I said, yeah, your kids have left home. You and your husband are the only one home, and you're figuring, what do you do with yourself? So, that kind of helped her. But then after that cry, like I said, Linda, she felt better. So on Sunday at church, her husband came up and said, hey, whatever you did, thank you. I'm so happy now. And I'm like, okay. I don't know. Yeah. So resolving and moving through traumas. That's something we can do. And then we can do it for everything. So things that, okay, I want to tell you, you guys are using oils, right? Don't expect to have this happy, perky rainbow life every day, because the oils will help open up boxes and things in the past to help you to heal and move forward. So don't be surprised if just one random day you just feel emotional, or things from the past have just come up and then you're thinking about it again. It's an opportunity for you to heal from it, okay? So what you do when that happens is you rub cypress on your legs, okay? Because legs is about moving forward. Cypress is about flow. Let's go. I'm not going to stop it, okay? And geranium over the heart, so you can trust the process, trust God, trust yourself, trust your body, and that this is a good thing, right? Spikenard on the big toes to help you see gratitude in this situation. Okay? And then just smell and diffuse Console. All right, necklace diffuser or regular diffuser, doesn't matter. Just get it up your nose, okay? And then, tell yourself, it is safe for me to face and resolve my traumas. It's safe for me to face and resolve my traumas. It's been so liberating for some of my friends who've allowed themselves to be brave enough to face their traumas and to talk about it. And then finally, once you get to the point where you've acknowledged, addressed, and appreciated that situation, that experience, you actually become unattached to it. You can retell the story and not have to relive it necessarily. And then with that wisdom that you've gleaned, you take it and turn around and bless other people. I truly believe that we are never tried, whether it's emotional, whatever it is, beyond our ability to resolve, okay? And then that those trials are never there for no reason. There's always some intelligent reason for it. So if we trust that, we experience that for a reason, then it's a lesson, a personal lesson for us. Okay. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
All right. So the next thing and the last thing from the mind is accepting love and comfort. So Console is diffusing it. It's another oil that helps you open up and receive. Sometimes we release all the negative, but sometimes we haven't adopted happy and haven't adopted joy. I think that was me. I think Zen, peace, but my joy level, because I didn't allow myself to go down to the sad levels anymore. But my joy level, I had to raise that too, and that was a lesson to be learned. Yeah. Okay. Any insights or questions, comments, guys?
Hey Jake, I like the idea of your recipe where you put the cypress on your legs and the spikenard. I do really think the oils can pull some buried things out. You have to be ready to handle them. So that's a great tip.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you'll be surprised how well you remember stuff. For years and years, I had friends working on me because I needed a lot of help. And, you know, when it got to a certain point, when you're retelling your story, details come through that you've never spoke about before. And you're like, oh, I didn't know I remembered that. I was only 2. I was only 4. And it just came out of your mouth, and you think, you know, I'm learning stuff from me. So it's really interesting how the cells remember. So we have this cellular memory that just comes out. So with the childhood regression technique that I use, you know, you're the adult, but now you have words for that child to express herself or himself. And it's so liberating, and they become a totally different person. So it's awesome. All right. So let's move on to the spirit now. Okay. Okay. So let's scoot this up on the screen. Spirit. Okay. So console, like I said earlier, was not one of my favorites, but it taught me lots of good lessons. So console invites us to seek divine intervention in our deeper emotional healing. Okay. So once you get out some of the surface stuff, it does go in there and dig a little bit deeper. So there are many beautiful lessons in life to learn, and console helps us with that. And it says, don't hold on to pain and trauma to feel safe. Because believe it or not, some of us do. We hold on to the trauma, the memory, the feelings of it, because we think it will keep us safe. Just the thought of it is sufficient, I believe, instead of having to relive it. Okay, so a lot of the traumas that I went through, if I think about it now, it doesn't hurt. I just see it as a you know, looking at it from a spectator's point of view. But I appreciate lots of the learning that I received. So I recently came across this saying here, and it's kind of fun. It says, everything works out in the end. If it hasn't worked out yet, then you're not at the end yet. Yeah. Isn't that great? So before we, you know, throw in the towel, we think, wait, I might not be at the end. I'm probably still in the middle of it. So it's going to be okay. So it's a good way of thinking about things, because it really does. You know, if you look back at all the things that you've gone through, it really did work out at the end. Okay, so I thought I was relaxed and serene, but I learned that there's many degrees of relaxation and peace. Okay, so when it didn't smell good to me, so if console happened to not smell good to you, I had one lady in my class. She didn't like any of this aromatherapy oils, the emotional aromatherapy oils. I'm like, there's gotta be an oil you like in here. I didn't like any of them. So at least I found that I didn't like one. Wasn't all of them, so that was good. And so sometimes I feel like it was because I held on to grief too long, but I didn't know I was grieving. That was the funny thing. And so as soon as it came up, I thought, okay, well, what's the grief that I held deep inside? And then it really helped me. So, you know, we can grieve for people that we've lost, or situations, or whatever it is, we can grieve. That's fine, because it shows a lot of love and stuff. But sometimes, like anything, any virtues, it can be extended and it becomes a vice in the end, which holds us back. And it just demonstrates just a bit of a lack of faith, all right, in the fact that we'll have a happy reunion in the life beyond. So, you know, if I still am grieving and stuff, I think it's not healthy for me or for anybody else around me. Okay. And our body is amazing. It gives us the clues that we need to know when we need to balance. Okay. Sometimes for one person, grief can be, you know, very, very short, and that's sufficient. And other people, it can be a little bit longer. But it's your body will tell you when you're done and you're ready. So I invite everyone to just look at your story. Everybody has some sort of story, and you don't compare it with anybody else. If it's the lesson that's dished out to you that's painful for you, then that's the lesson that you need. And you know, you can't compare yourself to so and so. Or I didn't have like an awful situation like that, I should be grateful. Well, it was painful for you nonetheless. Okay, so it's your story. But with Console, it helps you be unattached to your story. Be a spectator and just kind of release all of the negative emotions and energy. And then eventually you can, you know, be objective enough to learn the lessons you need to learn and to move forward. So publishing my book, my refugee story last year, really helped me go through that grief. You know, because I thought I did heal, but I didn't. I didn't heal all the way. And when I started writing it, and when my husband said, hey, what about this detail? You know, what happened between this and this? And can you explain more about this? And then, you know, all of these details came up that I didn't know was in there already, you know, in my mind, or it just, blah, it came out, and I thought, oh, I didn't even know I knew that. But it was liberating, and now, you know, it just feels like it's somebody else's story almost. But it just demonstrates the healing. And I know that it's just the beginning. There's still probably more stuff, but it's great. When you are unattached, though, then you are more able to magnify your calling. And just let your influence and your light reach further and wider. All right, so I invite everyone to use Console, release their emotional energy baggage, okay, and then move forward with lightness in every sense of that word. Welcome, everyone. Let's just come on. What questions or comments do you guys have? Guys, know people that you want to share the Console with? Maybe you might want to use it more or not use it. No, good day to heal emotionally that way. All right. Last call. Any questions or comments?
I've actually used it. It came on by accident, but I didn't like the smell for a while, and then I was just like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna like this. And then I put it into a diffuser, and it smelled totally different. And so I was like, oh, it's so like comforting, like, oh, it's like yummy. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna, and then I don't know why, but somehow I either saw something and I combined it with Motivate. And I totally loved it even more. And then I put Cheer with it one day, and then I was like, this is one of my favorite oils. And so I showed my mom, I showed my brother. I was like, doesn't this smell so like comforting? Like, it doesn't even seem like it would be an oil. It's so appealing, like it's just so good. And they were like, yeah, what oil is that? And then my brother called 2 days after he left. He's like, what did you blend? And I said, actually, it's Console. And you know, but it's funny because not even, I mean, knowing the name of its Console, you know, you think it's going to do that, but the way that it makes you feel, it's so peaceful and uplifting. And so I was like, man, I really want to share this a lot more people, because man, I find that I want to diffuse it a lot more often now. And for having it for so long and going, I don't like this oil, then just trying it a different way and becoming so attached to it that, you know, I even used it like preparing for business or a class or things like that, where you don't really think you need Console, but apparently you do, because it really does help you. Yeah. So I just told people, like, give this a try, even if you don't think this is what you need, because you'll be surprised how it affects you. So I don't know. That's just, I'm sorry I missed it. I was trying to get on here.
No, that's all right. You can.
Yeah, I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, that's fine. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. I like it. If you don't know, just give it a go. Try it, because you never know what it can do for you. Very good advice. Love it. All right. Anyone else? Okay. So that is the end of our console class. Thank you everyone for joining us. And Ben wants to share with you some information. Okay.
Oh no. So at the end of every class, Jade provides this top 10 usage of that essential oil.
Yes.
Stay tuned. We're going to jump into the
hormones class. Women's health
and hormones class. That's coming up next. But I just wanted to share with you.
You want to share the screen?
Huh?
Share that screen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to share with you this. We've recently put all of them together, so all the singles together.
Yay!
And so you can download that in one ebook and have all of those. And when we finish the blends, we'll just put those in as well.
Did any of you download this?
Not yet.
Anyone download it? I just want to know if it worked well for you. Yep, so it's free at the moment. So you're welcome just to go on here, jadebond.com/ebooks, and then just scroll down and all these books are available for you.
There's other books as well.
Yep.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right, let's go ahead and end this recording.
Yep.